All right, drinking some tea here. Can you guys see me here? Can you guys, hello? Hello? Are we off to the races? Yeah, no worries. All right, let me just get this all settled. Is it this one? No. Boop. This one? Yeah, there we go. All right. Peanut butter, Cather, Kale, Steve, Idswell, Karen, Long Island. Nice to see you. Hear you 5x5. Yeehaw, Peace Bucks, J Place. No coffee. We got green tea. All right, here's what we're waiting on today. First of all, most important news of the day. No, this is not the most important news of the day. There's some more important news coming, but the news I want to talk about first, just to get us in the right headspace. Happy International Moon Day, the lunar day, the day that in 1969, Apollo 11 made it up to the lunar surface. Tranquility, the Sea of Tranquility, like stepping forth into this brave unknown that, well, in 2026, we're still planning. 11. Surface 7 years after Apollo 11 landed Viking 1 on there, beamed back pictures of the Mars horizon, and here we are. Artemis 2, looking forward to Artemis 3, looking forward to Artemis 4. Let's do this. Anyway, that's all the last part of the show. You only have to listen to that for a little while, not too long, maybe like a minute and 20 seconds. The rest of the show is going to be about the craziness of the world today. Muted? Can you guys hear me? Uh-oh. Mic check, mic check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I don't know if Kevin has me. Sounds like there's some... The stream can't hear me. Can you guys hear me? You're good. Okay, perfect. Jay Place, boring breaking news. All right. So what we're also doing for breaking news is we're going to lead with the war in Iran because that has escalated, as you've probably seen over the weekend. There are now 2 service members dead and possibly 3 if you listen to what the president has said. And it looks like one of them, possibly more of them, were ballistic missile strikes. A lot of questions about ballistic missile stockpiles. If you're familiar with how ballistic missiles work, the medium-range ballistic missiles that they're talking about are basically missiles that go up in past the atmosphere, pass beyond the traditional boundaries of space, and then just plummet back down to Earth at this insane speed. We've seen them in action in Ukraine. Russia has fired them. They look like hell to have to stop, and yet we're hearing that the United States and the allies of the United States in the Middle East have been shooting down a lot of these ballistic missiles. So it tells us a little bit about the defensive capabilities, but it also tells us about Iran's offensive capabilities right now, and that some of these are still being able to get through. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the weather. We're going to talk about the fog, that this smoke that is lifted here in New York, but still seems to be hovering over Chicago. SML, you don't have to apologize. Guys, I got to restart this real fast. So give me 2 seconds here because I lost my little control panel. Here we go.
We've been hearing the word peptides over and over again.
So
I've been pretending like I know, but between us friends, like, what is peptides again?
Above us is the control room. Below us is the shot that's making me homesick. That is good old Los Angeles. What is that? Echo?
You know, which lake is that? Silver Lake?
Anyway, I should probably know that. But SML, you're never late. The show hasn't even started. We still got 7 minutes before showtime. Echo Park. Yep, that's Kev. What's up, Kevin? Miss you, buddy. Miss the whole entire crew, even Min. I even miss Min. He's a real one. What else? Man, now I lost the chat from before. That's okay. You guys will remind me what we were talking about. And then we're also going to talk about the weather. We've got a tropical storm, Bertha brewing. I can't wait to see what the new studio looks like. Let me just pop this open here. Lisa's out today. It's summertime. She's got some much needed time off. 5708. Did you guys have a good Friday? I missed you guys on Friday. I was at the ocean. It was great. Control room, Chiron. Nearly the same. Is that good or bad? Let's see, logging in here. Coping alone. You don't have to cope alone here. You're coping with us. We're all coping together. Coping together would be a really good name for a show, right? Am I going to be in New York the whole week? We don't know. We never know. It's all dependent on the powers that be in the news universe. But possibly. Let's see. Welcome to Brian Chung on Friday because you weren't here. Was Brian Chung doing the stream? Brian Chung is the man. If anybody could handle that stream even better than I could, it would be Brian Chung. God, that guy is a genius. You know, he's like, if I'm like, probably like the old Terminator, you know, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, clearly, because Schwartz and Schwarzenegger, they're the same. He would be like the T, what is it, 1000, 5000? The one that can morph? That's Brian Chung. He would definitely be the one that I would want on my side. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so we got that. That's good to go. That's good to go. That's good to go. Okay, here we go. That. Bonta. Fire. Dun, dun, dun. Wow, perfect. Okay, cool. All right, that looks great. Any more stars at 30 Rock? Yeah, I saw some stars. Did I tell you Gracie Abrams? That was cool. Have you always been in that studio? Which studio? This studio? No, at 30 Rock, we're in different studios. We used to be on the 4th floor. T3000, thanks for the fact check there. That sounds about right. Brian Chung is a T3000. Let's see, but with better kicks. Peace Bucks. Iran's threat to raid missiles forever at U.S. That's a really good question. Again, it all depends on what kind of missiles we're talking about too. Interestingly enough, like when you see us talking about it, we're going to be putting up some images that have been released from CENTCOM. Take a look at like the topography of some of those images of those strikes. It's clearly in a place that, you know, you look at like some of the canyons and the hills and you're like, it would be pretty easy to hide a lot of weaponry in places like that. And you got to remember how big Iran is. Sorry, I turned the control room down. 2 minutes. We got Evie here, keeping us honest. Boom, boom. No way. You should see Big Mike. He's got an even bigger mouth. Yeah.
Gotta be ladylike in some way.
We love it. I don't think so, but we'll look into that. Where's Lisa? She's with her family. Having some family time. Okay, 90 seconds. We're going to start this off with the latest in Iran. If you guys are watching this for the very first time, here's what's going to happen. We're about to do the news, and it's going to look like a real news show. And between the segments behind the scenes. You will see us here checking the stream as often as we can. And then if you guys have questions about what we're talking about, we'll try to put those to some of the experts, to some of the correspondents that we see. But for now, you guys just chill right here. Have a good show, everybody. Have a good show. Hi, hi.
Clean joke.
Okay. Got it. Okay. And I've got, I don't know if it's all this smoke or what, but I have this like cough. So yeah, if you kill mics in between, I'll try to clear my voice. Or maybe I'll just maybe go like this when I'm off camera, and then I'll wait a second and then I'll clear. That's a new sign, the pinchy.
All right, we've got it coming up on 15 seconds.
Okay, here we go. Have a good show.
And 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 seconds to open. 4, 3, 2, step by. Open coming up.
Hey there, I'm Gotti Schwartz in New York, and tonight the United States and Iran are still going at it, exchanging strikes for the 10th day, with 3 more U.S. soldiers dying over the weekend, marking 17 American lives lost so far since the beginning of the war in February. 2 of those soldiers killed when an Iranian missile hit a U.S. airbase in Jordan. Take a look. The Pentagon releasing the names of those 2 fallen soldiers, First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan and Private Isabella Gonzalez. Now, they have not identified the 3rd service member yet. That was a person that was killed in Iraq during a controlled detonation on Saturday. Now the Middle East is on edge, bracing once again for all-out war as Trump has vowed retaliation. Every time Iran kills an American soldier, he says they will pay for that killing many times over, while also insisting this.
Iran has been very, very badly damaged. They've lost everything almost militarily. They've got very little left. They've got some missiles. They've got some drones. They've got some manufacturing ability, not much. We control the Strait. They don't control anything. What we're doing now is we're ending any chance where they can have a nuclear missile.
First, let's go to NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons in Jordan. Keir, we know CENTCOM said news strikes have been going now for hours. What's the latest?
Well, it's another night of strikes, 10th night tonight, Gadi, by CENTCOM in Iran. Fundamentally, what CENTCOM, US Central Command, says it's trying to do is to erode Iran's capability to threaten the Strait of Hormuz, erode Iran's military capability. But it has also said that these strikes are intended as a swift retribution after the killing of those US service members. And I think that is where there is a risk here that this is all turning into what is called an escalation spiral. So a kind of tit for tat, where each side ups the attacks, ups the threats, ups the stakes, in the hope the other side will back down, without any indication that that is actually going to happen. I will tell you, Gadi, just quickly, here in Amman, Jordan, today, we had sirens, air raid sirens, ringing out across the city. They were quickly followed by an all clear, but 3 missiles were intercepted. I mean, these are nervous times for ordinary people here and in many of the countries around Iran, and of course for many ordinary Iranians.
And you're in Jordan. I mean, that's where the 2 service members were killed over the weekend. Do we have any more specifics on what happened in those attacks?
Well, we do and we don't. The CENTCOM statement that was released said, and this was news, that they had died on different days, one on Friday, one on Saturday. And it's not clear to me whether or not that meant actually they died in separate attacks. Certainly, our research indicates that in the days around those fatal attacks, there were 28 Iranian missiles intercepted. There were 5 waves of Iranian drone and missile strikes in as many days. So this place has been undergoing a bombardment, a barrage. There are a number of bases here with US personnel there. And so it is a real target for the Iranians as they try themselves to some degree, erode the US military capability, but also try to persuade the US that this fight isn't worth it.
And you were just talking about that escalation, almost like the escalation cycle or the escalation trap. I saw something that Secretary of State Marco Rubio said last night that really seemed to encapsulate that spiral that we're seeing. If we have that, let's play that real quick.
Look, Iran a week ago was supposed to put out a statement saying that the Straits of Hormuz would be open, that they would no longer attack shipping. And instead of doing that, they attacked 3 ships. I think that was last Friday or Saturday. So, I mean, their behavior has to change in order for ours to change. And they continue to send signals that they want to talk, that they want to negotiate. But their behavior is what we're responding to. And their behavior is they're launching missiles and drones against ships, including tonight.
And Keir, is there anything at all that you're seeing maybe on the horizon that could possibly break that cycle?
There is the possibility of diplomacy. Certainly, the Iranian Foreign Ministry said today that talks were something that could happen. To Marco Rubio's point, I mean, you can really get into the granular detail of this. That memorandum of understanding did give Iran some kind of supervision entitlement around the Strait of Hormuz. And there are some who argue that what the US did is try to open a separate channel against actually what they'd agreed with Iran. On the other hand, Iran had the option of enormous amounts of money, but instead, as Marco Rubio pointed out there, opened fire on shipping in the Strait again and headed and brought us back heading towards where we are now. I mean, fundamentally, the US and Iran simply have not been able to agree on even what they agreed upon. And that gets to your question, really, which is there can be talks. Both sides say they want diplomacy, but equally, both sides say they want to get to an agreement on their terms. They want their win at the end. And of course, as anyone knows, in a battle, in a fight, in a disagreement, that mostly is not a possibility. So how are the two sides going to compromise? I mean, that is the question beyond just the issue of whether they sit round a table. What is the compromise, I think, is the real sticking point here. And it's made more complex because this is such a complex region with so many countries around Iran, so many allies and partners of the United States here with different interests. That makes it all the more challenging.
And Keir, you know, here in the United States, we know how people feel about the war. It is often top of conversation, and there are mixed opinions for sure. But I do want to ask, you're in Jordan tonight. I know you spend so much time and living and traveling around the Middle East. How do people there in Jordan, on the street or in some of those other places, feel about the way the war is going?
They're worried, inevitably. I think there's no one, even President Trump in his heart of hearts, who would be able to honestly say the war is going the war is going the way that, for example, the US wanted it to go. Wars never do, frankly. So, I mean, that in some ways is no surprise. I will say that there are mixed views because Iran has had these ballistic missiles and these drones for a long time, and they have been seen as a threat in this region for a very long time. So there are countries and leaderships who feel that they have always wanted to see those gone. And there is a view to say that now that the United States has started this, it needs to finish this. Again, back to my earlier answer, the problem is, how do you finish it? How do you get to a point where there's a satisfactory solution for all of those involved? And what we hear from the Iranians, and they are talking a lot in great detail, what we hear from the Iranians is they remain determined to keep control of the Strait of Hormuz, keep their capability with missiles and drones, keep their nuclear program. They do not appear in any mood to back down.
NBC's Keir Simmons and Jordan tonight. Kier, thank you. Now let's bring in NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren. Colonel, I'm hoping we can zoom in a little bit on what Kier was talking about. Some of these attacks, we believe that they were ballistic missiles, at least in a few of them. And it wasn't just the ones that we know were launched. There were a bunch that we also know were intercepted, which is quite the split screen. On one hand, we seem to be proving that ballistic missiles can be defended against, which is always a very uncomfortable question mark. But on the other, clearly some are still getting through. How do you see the ballistic missile threat right now?
So two pieces to that answer, Gotti. The first part is between the ballistic missiles and the drones, one of the things we're seeing is that the Iranians are evolving their tactics, right? We say in the military sometimes the enemy gets a vote. And in this case, the Iranians have had an opportunity to see how we defend against their attacks. And if you recall, earlier on, we were very, very successful. And now we're seeing a little bit less success. Why? Because the Iranians have changed the way they are attacking us, most likely. So that's the first thing. The second piece of that is, how much do they have remaining? And that's kind of an open question, right? We know that the president told our own Kristen Welker that we had wiped out about 70 to 80% of the Iranian missile stockpiles, but we've seen very reliable reporting elsewhere that indicates we've only eliminated about 20 to 30%. So they still have capability, and clearly they're still very much willing to use that capability.
Yeah, and when it comes to the capabilities that they're still willing to use, do we know what capabilities those are? Because there are a lot of different types of ballistic missiles. There are short-range missiles, and then there are the very advanced ballistic missiles that we believe that they've had in the past, the ones that are capable of hypersonic glide, right, that would be able to possibly maneuver within the atmosphere. Do you know if they still have an advanced stockpile that we're worried about?
We are still worried about their most advanced capabilities. I've seen no evidence that they were ever fully successful in deploying hypersonic capabilities, but everything else they have been successful at deploying and using. And a lot of the reporting, and we've looked at it very, very closely, indicates that they have been holding back some of their more sophisticated systems for use, for a rainy day, so to speak. So they do still have the broad range of capabilities. But the other thing I want everyone to remember about the Iranians, think back to the Iraq War, a decade and a half ago. The Iranians are also very, very good at improvising, right? They really refined improvised explosive devices. Which was the big killer on the battlefield in Iraq, IEDs, right? So they have a very broad range of capabilities that they can bring to bear, whether it's high-end ballistic missiles or very rudimentary, simple explosive devices. The Iranians do have capability.
Yeah, even though it seems almost status quo, these back and forth volleys, there could always be a change on the horizon that is unexpected. I know also today, it was a dark day. We now know 3 people were killed recently. We also know that nearly 100 service members have been hurt in the past 2-ish weeks. It's so odd because 3, in addition to the ones that were lost, all of a sudden, that number is 17 people that have been killed in this war. And it is so difficult to get real-time information about how many people have been hurt, how many people have died. Do you expect that number to tick up? And why is that? Why are those numbers so hard to come by?
Yeah, 17 killed, and really, again, we're using roughly 500 wounded in total since the beginning of this thing. So this is real casualties. This is a real number. Now, of those 500, many are returned to duty. Let's be very clear about that. These aren't all catastrophic casualties. The Pentagon, there's a lot of debate about whether and how much casualty information the Pentagon should make public. In the previous wars, the Pentagon has been very forward-leaning, announcing casualty figures, casualty numbers, wounded, et cetera. There is a case to be made that information can assist the enemy as they are working on what we were talking about before. How are they what's been successful? They want to know what works. And if we tell them our casualty numbers, well, that's an additional piece of information they can use. So it's a balancing act, Gatti. So it's very difficult to know where the Pentagon is going to land on this. And in this case, we probably have it about as close to right as we're going to see it.
Colonel Steve Warren, really appreciate your insight into all of this. Thank you so very much. And now to some breaking news. A tropical depression in the Gulf has officially turned into Tropical Storm Bertha. That is expected to hit Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi, making landfall a little bit later this week. So we're going to be keeping a very close eye on that. And this comes on top of other parts of the country dealing with fire, dealing with flooding, fever heat. Let's start with the fire real quick. Wildfires continue to rage in Minnesota. Over 70,000 acres have burned, and officials say they think the fires are going to be burning until the first snow falls. Those fires are sending more smoke into cities like Chicago, where the air is still pretty bad. Here in New York, things have finally started to clear up. And while the flooding in Texas has crested, the storms are coming for the Midwest. We are watching for large hail, a few tornadoes. So while all the restless weather, well, a lot of it has been made worse by this feverish heat dome that is recording record temperatures. Some of Illinois, Kentucky, and Missouri could get up to 116 this week. And joining us now is NBC's Maggie Vespa in Chicago. Maggie, it's looking a little better than it did in the days past, but still some haze?
Yeah, Gotti, for sure. I mean, the skyline normally does not look like there's some strange fog hovering over it. So, yeah, you're right. You can still see it behind us. Definitely an improvement, which is really nice. The air quality index has really been hovering in like the 120s throughout the day. You want it between 0 and 50. But for context, last week, Thursday was its peak. It was the day I was out here wearing a mask. And that was like unhealthy for everyone. 120s are kind of where someone with upper respiratory issues and compromised immune systems, they shouldn't be out here, especially for extended periods of time. But I got to tell you, Gotti, I mean, here in Chicago and in other cities, you guys had it in New York, our teams had it in New York. DC's also been struggling in the smoke. It's been a long stretch of American cities hovering and kind of being choked by this Canadian wildfire smoke, better part of a week at this point. And we could see another kind of wave of it, intensifying the overall smoke pattern here tomorrow as well in Chicago. So we're not exactly out of the woods yet. It kind of comes and goes.
Interesting. And I know that there are some severe storms that are headed your way. Does that make the situation out there a little better with the rain clearing it out, or bring a whole host of other issues?
You know what? Our climate team is watching to see sort of which way it goes. And you phrased it perfectly. Effectively, it could dissipate the smoke, which is what we're all hoping for. But keep in mind, these could be severe storms, so they could bring a whole host of other problems, including damaging winds, hail, tornadoes. At the same time, obviously, with storms, a front comes through, and that could bring more smoke. That's what could bring more smoke into the area. So we really have to see truly how this plays out. Hopefully, by the week's end, will really be metaphorically and literally in the clear when it comes to this wildfire smoke. But I mean, you're right, those severe storms is like the latest layer of just punishing. And, you know, some areas have endured really violent and tragic severe weather over the last week or so. People here are ready for a break as soon as possible, Gotti.
Yeah, fingers crossed that happens soon. Maggie Vespa in Chicago. Maggie, thank you. Meanwhile, out in Mississippi today, an outpouring of grief at the funeral of Nolan Wells. Hundreds gathering to honor the 18-year-old who died under those mysterious circumstances on July 4th. There's also a new reward in the case, partly funded by a major celebrity. NBC's Aaron Gilchrist is there.
An emotional gathering of hundreds to celebrate the short life of Nolan Wells, including his high school friends, college football teammates, and celebrities like Spike Lee. Nolan's mother holding tight to his memory.
Hold him close in your heart. Share his stories and never stop saying his name.
Nolan's death remains mysterious after he and friends took a boat trip to Horn Island, Mississippi on July 4th. His mother reported him missing hours after his friends returned without him. His body found on July 6th.
For an 18-year-old young man to no longer be with us, we want answers.
Reverend Al Sharpton offering a $100,000 reward, saying Tyler Perry, who paid for the funeral, will collect half for information that leads to an arrest and conviction in the case. His eulogy laying bare lingering questions about Nolan's case.
We cannot say it was racist. but we cannot say it was not racist. So let's not judge either way until all the evidence is in.
The family's attorney asking again for photos and videos from Horn Island. He has not turned over Nolan's cell phone to law enforcement, but says they still plan to analyze it together.
We have not established a time yet of when we're going to do the mutual inspection of the cell phone.
The family attorney, Ben Crump, says that his pathologist has run into some limitations because of when he received Nolan's body, but he also says that he does expect to have the autopsy results very soon. Gotti?
Aaron Gilchrist, thank you. And a snag in the Paramount-Warner Brothers merger as a judge has officially granted a temporary pause on those two companies coming together. That pause put in place thanks to a request by dozens of states that have sued to block the deal, led by California AG Rob Bonta. Paramount pushing back, vowing to continue defending that deal, all setting up a high-stakes antitrust fight over whether the merger should be allowed to go forward. And let's bring in Allie Canal to go as big picture as humanly possible here in the studio. So, Allie, it looks like there are kind of two ways to frame this, at least when you ask the people that are involved, right? There's Paramount saying, no, this is big tech versus old school legacy media. And then there are the AGs that are like, no, this is definitely antitrust. This is not very competitive at all. So let's just break it down into the first one here. How is this, at least from Paramount's view, big tech versus them, versus legacy media?
Yeah, so Paramount is saying that the states, they're focusing on the wrong market. So the state AGs are sort of taking that traditional Hollywood play, looking at the movie studios, film distribution, what we're seeing with the cable networks. And then you have the Paramount side that's saying, well, that's a little bit outdated because today you're also competing with those big tech players like your Amazon and Apples of the world. YouTube is owned by Google. And then you have the streaming platforms like TikTok, for example. So Paramount is saying by combining these companies, you can create a stronger streaming business in this very fragmented landscape. But the federal judge is saying, okay, but that's not really the question. The question is whether or not this reduces competition. And by saying, if we combine our companies, our streaming business will be stronger, that doesn't necessarily answer that question. It's not enough. So the judge is saying that the states presented some pretty compelling evidence and really smart antitrust questions that warrants the courts taking a second look and digging a little bit deeper into this. So it's really that question of how do you define this media landscape and this market right now that has changed quite dramatically over the past decade, which we know.
Yes, we're always trying to impress that upon everybody that'll listen to us, and yet it seems like anytime I want to talk about this with somebody that's not in the business, they're like, yeah, but is my streaming stuff going to change? Like, what is this judge ruling going to alter what's on my television? And right now it's just a pause, right?
Yes, no, not yet. You can still access CNN, CBS, you can still go on HBO Max, Paramount Plus. Now, if this merger goes through, a lot of that probably will change, both editorially and operationally, but right now, nothing changes. The only thing that is different is the timeline. So in the next 2 weeks, this deal is paused. August 3rd is the next date to watch. That's when there will be a preliminary injunction hearing where a judge will decide, okay, are we going to extend this pause or can this deal move forward? And that's when we'll get a little bit more information when it comes to whether or not this is going to be a longer term issue here or if this is just a short-term blip.
Gosh, I don't even want to ask this next question because it's so existential. But, we've got old school legacy media versus big tech, at least that framing that Paramount's presenting. Then you got like the whole states' rights versus the feds thing, because the feds have kind of given this the okay, right? And this is AG stepping forward, being like, whoa, we're states, we still have a say here. It seems like it could get pretty political.
Well, that's what's really fascinating about this, because the Justice Department approved this merger already. We saw that last month, and that was a major hurdle, but it wasn't the only hurdle, because under U.S. antitrust laws, states can present their own antitrust challenges if they believe deals could hurt their consumers, hurt their constituents. So it's not the fact that the judge is, just overstepping or overruling the federal decision. It's whether or not the states can make the case to the courts that this deal should be blocked, even though it got that federal approval. So it does feel like we could be getting into a situation where it is.
This is a story that
political.
is complicated on top of complicated on top of complicated, but important nonetheless. So we should definitely be paying attention. Allie, thank you so much for breaking it down. And coming back to here in New York, police say a man armed with a collection of weapons tried to start a fire outside of a federal building in New York City. That suspect is a former U.S. Army soldier. NBC's Emily Akeda explains what went down.
Tonight, a federal investigation into this terrifying scene in New York City. Video from witnesses showing a man pouring a liquid outside a federal building home to an immigration and customs office, igniting a massive blaze.
To actually witness it was definitely alarming.
Investigators say the suspect ignited an apparent bundle of fireworks, fired an airsoft rifle, and lit this fire in an incident that injured 3 people this morning. You can see him lobbing something towards the entrance before he is tackled. Other angles show a scuffle with officers, some with weapons drawn, emerging from the smoky entrance, then escorting the suspect in all black and handcuffed away. The FBI identifying the suspect as 43-year-old Andrew Arabaka.
He did say he was targeting the building and he was okay if he hurt or killed people going in and out of the building.
Are you investigating this as a possible act of terrorism?
We're collecting the evidence, and we know there were anti-government and anti-American statements made.
Investigators in hazmat suits now combing through the aftermath, recovering, the FBI says, axes, a machete, knives, and a cart with a sign reading "ICE off our streets," as tensions have flared near ICE facilities nationwide.
Investigators say the suspect is a U.S. Army veteran who has had several encounters with law enforcement, but nothing to this degree. Charges are still being determined.
Emily Akeda, thank you. Don't go anywhere. Coming up next, a cop drags a man out of a burning car before the flames take over. The whole thing caught on video. Plus, Fight Night Robot Edition. A look at a growing trend in China where people are getting robots to go head-to-head. Also, if you see this QR code, feel free to scan through. Just pull out your phone right now. You can scan it, that little thing right there over on the right. You can chat with us all hour long. It should take you right to our behind-the-scenes content, streaming on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch.
Ninety seconds.
90 seconds. You got 90 seconds,
people. All right, let me see what is coming up. We got headlines. Just make sure that we are good to go. Dun, 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 dun. Yep. Okay. All the way to New Delhi. What else are you guys watching here? Okay. What did I miss? You know, like they did in the movie Inception. What are you guys talking about? Inception. We'll be able to create our own digital environments. We have that. It's called the metaverse. Remember the metaverse? That was an interesting experiment. Let's see. It's like living in a Black Mirror episode where this is even a debate. It's depressing.
45 seconds.
I don't know exactly which debate you're talking about, but I mean, I think I agree with that statement. Am I over there?
Yes.
Okay. All right, coming back in just a second here.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. So we do this, and then do we move after headlines?
We're going back to the desk.
Okay.
After you toss.
After I toss.
Yes.
Okay.
10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 seconds. 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some other headlines that we are watching tonight. The FDA is still investigating Taylor Farms as part of that parasitic outbreak. It comes after the agency tested for the parasite and the results were a false positive. Now, Taylor Farms has already voluntarily recalled their shredded iceberg lettuce. Investigators, though, they are still looking for the source of the outbreak. And a warning, this next story out of Italy, it could be disturbing for some. This Moroccan man died while Italian police held him down during an arrest. That moment caught on camera, sparking protests in the city of Bologna. In the video, the man can be heard calling for help. Italian media reports police had been called about a man being aggressive. Italian prosecutors are investigating. And in Texas, a police officer pulled a man out of his burning car in the nick of time. That officer was pulling over a speeding car when a call came in for a car smoking on the highway. The officer looked to his left, saw that car passing by. The officer saying he was in the right place at the right time. Both men are doing okay. And at least 6 people are dead after a 5.5 magnitude earthquake struck Peru late Saturday night. 30 people were hurt. Over 300 people have been displaced. Peruvian officials don't know how many people are still missing, but their search continues. And protests broke out in New Delhi over college entrance exams. Protesters were calling for the Indian education minister to resign after the exam answers were leaked, meaning more than 2 million students would have to retake that very expensive test. Protesters clashing with police in riot gear as they marched towards Parliament there. And in less than 24 hours, singer David will be back in court for a major hearing in the killing of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas. David is charged with first-degree murder, child sex abuse, and other crimes in Rivas's death. And you'll remember that her dismembered body was found inside bags in the front trunk of the singer's Tesla in Los Angeles back in September 2025. But David, he wasn't arrested until April of this year. Prosecutors allege the two had a long-term sexual relationship and say Rivas threatened to reveal information that could have ended his career. Let's bring in NBC's Camila Bernal, who's been following this story so closely for us. Camila, what's about to happen in the next coming days in this hearing?
Yeah, Gotti, so this is a preliminary hearing. So what that means is the prosecution will present their evidence, the case that they have against David, to a judge. The defense will also make some arguments, and then eventually the judge will decide if there is enough evidence here to go to trial. We're expecting several days of this hearing. There will not be any cameras allowed in court. We will have a team inside the court, and the judge could decide at the end of all of this if she believes the trial should go on, but it's unclear exactly when that will happen, Gotti.
And what evidence are the prosecutors presenting here?
Yeah, so we've actually talked about this. We've seen some of the documents that police have filed and some of the investigation, and me and you have discussed it. But police say they essentially have conversations, text messages between the two of them the day before she was killed, where they were arguing. They also have Uber documentation where he ordered an Uber from her house to his house. They also have the Amazon purchases and the Postmate purchases. And again, this is a little bit graphic, but he bought a shovel, 2 chainsaws, inflatable pool, a burn cage, a body bag, 2 heavy-duty laundry bags, all of this in his purchase history, even though it was under another name. Officials believe this was him ordering all of this. So they also say they have blood evidence. They found her blood at her home, and they say they're also finding essentially parts of that inflatable pool on her body. And so there's all of that evidence that we had already read about and talked about. We'll see if we get any more in this hearing, but the prosecution definitely feels like they have a lot of evidence against David. Gotti?
And I know there's been so much talk, and you and I have talked about this too, about the timeline and why it took so long for police to arrest David, and that is still somewhat unanswered. Do you think that we're going to get a solid answer on that in the next coming days here?
I don't know if we will. We've gotten some sort of clues into why it took them so long, being one of the reasons being that they have so much evidence, and they've insisted over and over again that it just took them a long time to collect all this evidence, to analyze all this evidence. They also were waiting for the autopsy report. They wanted the full toxicology, and David was actually arrested around the time that that final report came out. So those are sort of hints as to why maybe he wasn't arrested right away, but it's probably not something we'll get a direct answer from authorities this week.
Yeah,
Gotti?
we'll see what happens this week. Camila Bernal, thank you so much. And coming up, the Tate brothers facing an extradition fight as they face sex trafficking charges in the UK. What we're learning about that coming up next. Man, I don't know if I'm getting sick or it was all that air here in New York, but man. Let's see, Mess Jess, how can I check that or correct? Still watching. What are you talking about? What do you mean here? Albert, I don't know what you're talking about either. We'll look into it, but I don't think that's happening right now. But maybe we're wrong. Rocky didn't. That's an interesting take. Billionaires are buying up the media is what happens when. Melissa, interesting take too. How long have I been in the LA studio? a long time. I've been in LA for the network since 2015. Hey, Terrible Maddie is here. Hello, how are you? Great to see you. Let's see, what else?
14 is, yeah, it's so tragic. And again, like anybody that was following that from the get-go, it was just, it's been infuriating for people that have been questioning, like, why he wasn't arrested when they found her body in the front trunk of that Tesla. But we'll see. We'll see what we learn from the trial here. Everybody is innocent till proven guilty in the United States, according to the justice system. Let's see. They still watching what I type? Yeah, I'm watching. What are you typing, Mess? Women for presidency, something new?
1 minute.
I mean, I would love to see more women run for president. Oh, dun, 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 dun. No, I haven't wondered about that, Rocky, but I think I will now. There's a court of the U.S. and then there's a court of public opinion. So true. And that used to be true before social media. Now there's the court of supercharged public opinion. Oh, blast you too, SNL.
30 seconds.
I think blast is a good thing, right? All right, let's talk about what's happening with this extradition trial, shall we?
15.
15 seconds, here we go.
And 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Controversial social media influencer brother Andrew and Tristan Tate are going to remain in jail while fighting extradition on new rape charges. Those brothers were arrested over the weekend in Miami while on their way to a bare-knuckle boxing match. Along with those rape charges, the brothers are also facing sex trafficking charges in the UK. They're also facing several other criminal investigations in several other countries, all while the brothers have made a fortune from their so-called manosphere profiles online. NBC's Jesse Kirsch has more.
Gotti, Andrew and Tristan Tate appeared in federal court here in Miami today. They were shackled in beige and brown prison clothing as the beginnings of the potential extradition process unfolds here in the U.S. Prosecutors in the United Kingdom are hoping that the brothers will be brought to the U.K. to face a slew of new charges, including new allegations of rape against the brothers. Now, for people who've been following their legal troubles closely, they'll know that these brothers are already facing allegations both in the United Kingdom as well as in Romania. And there was a period of time where they were barred from leaving Romania, but once that ban went away, they traveled to the United States more than a year ago, and they have been here. And now prosecutors in the UK announcing those new charges. And over the weekend, U.S. Marshals arrested the brothers in Florida, and they made their appearance in court today. We are expecting another court proceeding in this matter next week. The brothers themselves not expected to be back in court for that. And again, we're really in the early goings of the extradition process. Their attorney has proclaimed their innocence. Their attorney says that their legal team will be fighting this extradition even all the way to the Supreme Court if they need to. And ultimately, at the end of the day, Gotti, if the justice system signs off on extradition, it will fall on Secretary of State Marco Rubio to decide whether or not the Tate brothers should ultimately be extradited to the United Kingdom. Gotti.
Interesting. Jesse Kirsch, thank you. And over in a remote area of Northern California, there was a brazen hostage situation. 2 U.S. Forest Service workers were zip-tied and then held at gunpoint for nearly 15 hours. NBC's Morgan Chesky explains how it all ended.
What's the occasion? We got an armed standoff going on with hostages.
Oh my God.
Tense moments caught on camera as a frightening hostage crisis played out in real time. Authorities say 2 Forest Service workers were taken at gunpoint by a father and son in a remote wooded area of Northern California near Mount Shasta. The suspects identified as 49-year-old Joseph Henriksen and his 23-year-old son, Phoenix, who investigators say zip-tied the workers before forcing them into a trailer. Federal prosecutors say that's when the elder Henriksen used one of the victim's own cell phones to call law enforcement, threatening to open fire on anyone who approached, saying he wanted to speak with the FBI. That threat launching a massive law enforcement response.
When did you begin to get involved in this incident?
I was driving along Forest Service 26, and let's say 2 people in camo gear with guns started hailing me down.
Hank Magnuski's drive to his cabin cut short when officers asked for a ride to the remote scene. His dash cam capturing local, state, and federal agents converging. The FBI even flying in a tactical team cross-country from Virginia.
I would have never, ever guessed something like that would happen around here.
The FBI says the suspects were found with an AR-15 and knives and claimed to have grenades. The standoff lasting nearly 15 hours, finally ending around 1:50 Friday morning, when the suspects released both workers before surrendering soon after. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.
Morgan, thank you. And coming up, peptides are the latest health trend. Now an FDA advisory panel could be making some of them possibly easier to get. Thank you, Evie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see if these cough drops will fix my throat. Okay, let's see. Got it. All right. Oh, thank you for taking your news stream onto TikTok. Thank you for watching on TikTok. So we do this every day. Well, we do this most days. And you can comment right here. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll listen, as long as it's cordial and nice. And if you want to weigh in or you want to, ask a question about a segment, we'll try to sneak it in. No sound. Can you hear me now? Miss Mouse, can you hear me? No sound? Huh? No sound? No sound? Hello? Yes? No? Yes sound? No sound?
1 minute.
Oh, okay. But we hear you. Anyway, do I get to see any shows or performances in New York? I would love to, but I haven't been able to yet. Anyway, going back to
You're standing.
Miss Mouse
In
and
45 seconds.
45 seconds. Okay. 45 seconds over there.
Yes.
Battle bots. Anyway, for those that were talking about putting it on TikTok, yes.
30 seconds.
Go ahead and make it in. 30 seconds? I got time. And he's stressing. He's like, oh no. He's limping over here.
Hold on, there we go. Boom, that's the one. 20 seconds. Uh-oh, where do I put this?
10 seconds.
Ah! Cough drop in the pocket. It's okay, I got it.
5 seconds. 4, 3.
And tonight in the future of everything, welcome to the world of robot fighting. No, this is not a video game. This is 2026. This is a real robotic throwdown in this like cyberpunk underground BattleBots Fight Club subculture that is probably headed our way. Watch this. This is the craziest part. Whoa, did you see that? He kicked his head off and he's still fighting. This one right here, the one that the head's flopping around. If you want to see it in slow motion, I know because you asked so nicely. Here it is. What? And then, wait, that wasn't the head part, but did you see that? That was very weird. This whole thing is absolutely wild. Robot fight nights have been a thing here in the United States too. In San Francisco, you got these bots with the little bit better hair, duking it out. There's techno, there's instant ramen bars. It is a very, very wild scene. Let's bring in somebody who's been following all this very, very closely. Humanoid robotics analyst Aaron Chen. Aaron, great to see you. Thank you so much for being with us. We know that this is not an AI video, even though it does look very much like an AI video. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is just an AI generated. But AI, the question of AI, are they using AI to control these, or are these just remote controlled?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And in terms of the fights, the way that the robot balance itself and the way that they get up almost instantly, like you see in the video, they're fully autonomous, and definitely there's AI involved. And in terms of the higher decision making, for example, when the robot's attacked, what kind of move it makes, like 1, 2, right? It is still mostly remote controlled at this stage.
Okay, got it. Because yeah, I just see like the video gamer in me is like I would just be mashing and bashing all of the buttons, and yet, you know, the balance. I can't get over the balance with the head of just hanging on there. This seems like a proving ground where we can really see how fast this whole tech is evolving. No?
Definitely, yeah. If you look at back-end robots like 1 or 2 years ago, they can barely walk very well. But thanks for the machine learning or the different algorithms that are developing, the robots can not only just maintain balance, but they can run, they can parkour, they can do all kind of dynamic and powerful movements. And we're only seeing these kind of developments growing exponentially, not linear way.
I don't know why I'm so like drawn to this and so captivated by this, but it does seem like it's one of those things where it's like all fun and games until we have to, I don't know, fight one of these in real life. Like, how do you see the future of robots on the battlefield?
Yeah, I understand. It's kind of scary while also entertaining at the same time to watch them fight. But first thing, like if you look back for cars, right? Cars were made for our transportation. But even still today, we have Formula One, where people watch these kind of tournaments. They're used for 2 reasons. Number one, they're a great way to testing the performance of the vehicles, pushing the limits such as the torque, the maximum speed, the durability, and everything. And number 2, it is just entertaining to watch them. So same thing with robotics. We know that robots, they are going to our households. They will do our housework. They're going to warehouses, industries, everywhere. But why not have them, you know, in the battleground, in a safe environment, watch them fight? That would be a little bit fun for us too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I hate to agree with you because, I don't know, I'm conflicted about, you know, I want to watch roundhouse kicks by robots all day long, and yet I guess it does serve a purpose. It serves a greater good of realizing, yes, these things can be useful, but also dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I believe there will be a lot of safety protocols being applied while the industry is still developing. At this stage, of course, you can see it's inside a cage and it's within a safe environment. I believe when robots are really getting to everyone's households, there will be more safety protocols or regulations involved to make sure that they are used to serve us. They're doing the 3Ds, right? The dangerous work for us, the dull work, and also the dirty work, such as cleaning the toilet. So, of course, we have to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, let's hope so. And again, if I was a kid growing up, I would definitely be one of those kids probably trying to challenge my robot to fight and getting my butt kicked. So, Aaron Chen, this whole thing is fascinating. We hope you join us again because it's going to be a lot more to talk about. Thank you, Aaron. And turning now to business in America, with the average price of ground beef up to nearly $7 a pound. You would think that burger joints would be maybe cutting back a little bit, but not. Burger King, they are doubling down while also preparing for the GLP-1 revolution. So why are they betting big on beef just as the price of beef gets higher and higher? Well, Hallie Jackson sat down with Burger King's president to talk about whether they can really have it both ways.
Hey, how are you?
Good morning.
Running to the drive-thru may be easy.
Have a good one.
But running the restaurant
harder these days, with fast food facing bigger headwinds and smaller appetites.
My Chipotle GLP-1 friendly meal.
Nearly 4 times as many Americans take GLP-1s than just 2 years ago. One survey finding people on these weight loss drugs dine out half as much, with 78% cutting out quick service spots.
Is the rise of weight loss drugs going to kill off fast food?
No, absolutely not. I mean, fast food is about convenience, it's about great flavor and great value. I still think you need that.
Tom Curtis, the president of Burger King, says so far the proliferation of weight loss drugs hasn't taken a bite out of business, but he can see what's on the horizon.
My impulse has always been that this GLP-1 movement is going to have a profound impact on the industry. We haven't seen it yet, so I keep telling the team, hey, we need to be prepared for this. The data has shown us that people keep coming for Whoppers, and the Whopper's the biggest burger in the fast food business. And I think people are looking for smaller portions. So what's important for me, what's important for us, is that we have all of the variety and innovation available in a smaller package.
Is that enough to capitalize on what, as you point out, seems to be a growing market?
Right. I think, once again, we need to be on the leading edge of innovation, but not on the bleeding edge of innovation. So what we'll continue to do is test things like protein-forward bowls, protein-forward ways to serve chicken and beef. And as we test those and they test well, then we'll bring them to market.
All of it as many folks are tightening their belts figuratively, too, looking for dining discounts. Companies like McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell rolling out meal deals to compete for customers. But beef prices are soaring, up nearly 12% since last year, cutting fast food profit margins. At Burger King, Curtis says they're eating that, asking franchisees not to pass that cost to customers buying Whoppers.
How long is that feasibly sustainable?
Yeah, so I would say it's sustainable indefinitely. You can outrun those costs just by growing traffic, and that's what this is all about. Everybody's out there trying to sell chicken. We're leaning into burgers and beef.
But I believe that you'd wanted to have 85% of the stores renovated by 2028.
That's correct.
Falling short of that goal a bit. Why is that?
Beef. Beef prices are exactly why we're falling short of that. It's slowed the pace down. What it hasn't slowed down is the conviction and the belief from our owners and from ourselves that this is working.
Here in Miami, one of those recently renovated restaurants.
He's the president of Burger King.
Oh, hi.
Hi, how are
nice
you?
To meet you. Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you. Hey, how are you?
And the push for a new and improved customer experience, driven by a direct line to the top.
Hi, I'm Tom Curtis, president of Burger King. And here's my number.
Level with me. Is it really your number?
I have 2 numbers, and it is one of
It
my
really
numbers.
is?
Yes.
What's the most surprising thing you heard from one of these phone calls or text messages?
There's so many surprising things. Bring back the 90s fries, improve your friendliness.
And that leading the company to roll out a brand new staff position starting this week that Curtis says will elevate friendliness, the Your Way champion.
It's somebody whose priority is to care about the guest, whatever that means.
Hoping to reel in repeat customers along with a new Whopper guarantee.
Now, if your Whopper isn't made your way, we won't just remake it. Your next one will be on us. These Your Way champions, they can't just go through the motions. They got to feel it. They got to really care.
The competition for your burger business heating up. Hallie Jackson, NBC News.
Not gonna lie, I am hungry and I want it Hallie's way. Hallie Jackson, thank you so very much. Now let's talk a little bit about peptides, which is the next big buzzword that you could just casually throw around like you sound like you know all kinds about health. Well, people seem to be turning to peptides for nearly everything, as you've probably seen.
The key to youth, you guys, is going to be peptides. It is.
It's plumping, it is hydrating, and it's going to help with collagen production. Look at my face.
If you're not on them, you're suffering. You've got inflammation, you've got pain, you've got some stubborn belly fat, you have back fat. You're looking in the mirror thinking, what can I do differently? Here we are, here it is. Peptides will change your life.
Will they? This week, an FDA advisory panel is taking a closer look at 7 of them with implications that could affect both patients and pharmacies. So exactly what does all this mean? And let's bring in our favorite doctor, Dr. Akshay Syal, to help us answer that question. Now, we've been hearing the word peptides over and over again.
Yeah.
I've been pretending like I know, but between us friends, like, what is peptides again? What are they?
It's a great question, Gotti. This is by far the most common thing patients are asking me about. I literally just got one today about an unapproved peptide. So glad we're talking about this. But peptides are essentially the building blocks of proteins. Or, think back to AP Bio or whatever class you took growing up. When you learn about these sort of basic building blocks of proteins, that's essentially what peptides are. We have peptides in our body. Insulin, for example, is a peptide. Another peptide people may have heard of is Ozempic. Ozempic's actually a peptide, and one that works, pretty well. So peptides by themselves are not sort of, far out there categories. It's this whole world of unapproved, unregulated peptides, the one our patients are asking us about. I literally just got a question 2 hours ago about an unregulated one from one of my patients. We're hearing about this every day, so glad that the FDA is talking about it.
And was this the BPC like 157, or was it another one? What is the deal with this BPC one? Like, is that...
So it's the Wolverine peptide. I was first introduced this by one of my patients in Hollywood many years ago, and he was like, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing all these things, but what do you think about this peptide? So we looked it up, and it's called the Wolverine peptide because people are sort of using it to recover, to train better, and exactly, and they're sort of injecting it locally into their shoulder, into their knees. The problem with a lot of these peptides, including BPC 157 guys, there's just not a lot of good data on them. Right? I can't point to something like, for example, we mentioned Ozempic. I can say if you take Ozempic for 1 year, you lose, about 15% of your body weight. We can't say that with peptides. They've just never been rigorously studied to the point where we can make recommendations on dosing, on timing, meaning how often you should take it and how long you should take it for. Not to mention a lot of these things people are getting from the gray market, they could be contaminated and have who knows what in those products.
Do you expect any clarity this week with, these 7 peptides being up for FDA review?
Yeah, so it's an advisory panel that the FDA sort of put together to look at all of these peptides, including 7 peptides, including BPC 157. Another one we hear about is MOTS-C. Have you heard of that one?
No, not yet, but I'm about to Google it and probably fall very victim to that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I am terminally online, which is I've heard a lot of these products, but MOTS-C is essentially an exercise pill. It's an exercise peptide that's sort of meant to stimulate the effects of exercise. That's just one of 7 that they're hoping to look at. But to answer your question, do I expect clarity? Unless some large amount of research has been done since the last time this was looked at, not too long ago by the FDA. No, I think we're not expecting some big sort of grand reveal of how these peptides work. I think one thing to watch for, is do these people on the panel have a conflict of interest? Are they invested in any of these companies? Are they selling these products? And what data are they looking for? Is it animal studies? Is it petri dish studies? What kind of research are they showing to justify the FDA potentially adding this, to the compounded pharmacy list?
Why do you think that they're having such a moment right now? Is it because we humans are trained and we have that thing ingrained in our DNA to always be looking for some sort of miracle serum?
I think it's that. I think it's people might want a quick fix and an easy answer to things, but also I think it's partly our fault. It's the healthcare system. It's people can't get in to see a doctor, and even when they do get in to see a doctor and they want to see a specialist, it's another 3 months of waiting. So I think people are trying to take matters into their own hands. They're seeing something that's new and shiny, and they can get today. They don't have to wait months to get. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people are turning to them. So I don't blame them necessarily, but it's our job to help you sort of navigate that and show you what does work and what doesn't, instead of just blanketly saying nothing works.
And if I get a review on this, I'm going to be like, he did not make me wait at all for answers on peptides. Dr. Akshay Syal, thanks so much for giving us your time today.
Yeah, anytime.
And still to come on this International Moon Day, we are looking back at the Apollo 11 landing that changed the space race as we know it more than 5 decades ago. But first, you got to see this. Spain's superstar, Lamine Yamal, got a lot of attention during the World Cup, then swooped in that little brother to steal some of his shine. Did you guys see that? Yesterday, he was seen holding the World Cup, and then, he tried to get a lick out of it, kind of like Spain licking Argentina on the pitch to become the FIFA World Cup champions. And you want to know something? There are no germs like World Cup germs. At least that's what my mom would say. Maybe not. We'll be right back.
Good show.
Great show. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Not you guys. You guys stay right there because the show is not over. We just shot the end of the show, which is my favorite part, the space part. That's coming up in just a bit. So you'll see that in just a bit. 1969, that's right. Can you guys hear that playing? Is that why? Like a few days, maybe like it depends on how. Sometimes we're working on it for a week, but the scripts for the day.
And finally tonight, happy International Moon Day,
before the
July
show.
20th,
Shoot. You guys
57
watch
years
this.
ago
All right,
today, Apollo 11
I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow.
landed on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And that is something that we take for granted today, something that seems so close and yet somehow is still years away. It's because space is mind-bogglingly hard, and it's not just technology. We have to want to go back. That's why we're seeing this rekindling of the Artemis mission, now opening these new doors. We've got Blue Origin, SpaceX, hopefully they're finishing touches on their lunar landers. I know the timeline might be a little bit wobbly right now. That's how space has always been, so fingers crossed. And speaking of SpaceX, it's well known their Mars ambitions, right? Well, you know what else humans did on July 20th, 1976? This is from 1976. The surface of Mars beamed back to us just 7 years after we first landed on the moon. Viking 1 on the red planet, no AI, no next-gen computer chips. They didn't even have cell phones. They didn't even have pagers. But with engineering and determination, they planted our course forward. Once again, all of this is now on our human horizon. Who knows? Maybe July 20th next year or beyond will be a national holiday. We might not even have to go to work. We could take the day off, look up, and then wonder how far we could go next. If only we can dream. That does it for us. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned to NBC News Now.